to mental health and that being also an issue with marriages, not being able to, people not taking responsibility for getting the help they need mentally and things like that. I think that I think it all stems back to like this high rate of divorce stems back to like our generation, and our parents were probably the first generation that started to see divorce as a solution to like a bad marriage, honestly, because prior to that, I can think of grandparents, great grandparents, they stuck through it no matter what, no matter how bad it got. Listen, my grandparents went through it. They went through it. My grandfather was not a great man, unfortunately, when in his early days in marriage, and my grandmother had to go through a lot. 5 kids pretty much by herself, even though he was physically, able to be there. He just was not, because he'd rather be doing other things. And, I think that in the end, he realized how hurtful that was and how much damage it caused her. But it also caused damage to my mom, the kids. So all of that is kind of a generational thing that has been trickling down, from generation to generation. So here we are.
They call that the generational curse, by the way.
Generational curse, correct. Mm-hmm. And so here we are in a generation where I'd like to think that we're a little bit more aware, more awake of our personal, state of being as a person. Okay, I'm experiencing this because I saw my parents go through this, or I have trauma behind this because I saw my grandparents go through this. So I think that we are a generation of a little bit more aware human beings. And so we recognize now that even though we've made mistakes, like let's say I got married to this person, even though I didn't know them or didn't know exactly, who they are 100%, now I recognize that this isn't healthy. Mm-hmm. And so I have one of two choices. Do we work on this and do we grow and create something beautiful out of this chaos? Or do we walk away? And at the end of the day, sometimes it's easier to walk away. Sometimes it's easier to just, time to move on. Or sometimes it's harder to walk away. And that's a choice that you have to make, because at the end of the day, you have to be healthy. Yeah. You have to make yourself a priority, and you have to make yourself a better person, regardless of what that's going to look like to anybody else. It may not be the ideal. We have the ideal of marriage is forever, marriage is for life, and the kids, this and that, the dog, blah. But at the end of the day, our priority should be, if we want to be a productive and healthy human being in a relationship, we have to be that first ourselves. Okay. So we need to take care of ourselves first. And it goes back to the mental health. Absolutely, mental health has to be number one.
Sure. Also, like when you get out of a relationship, whether you're a man or a woman, this is your time. This is your time to focus on what you need to do. Don't get yourself right back into another relationship. And I think, speaking as a man, that's what I would do so many times. I would jump into something else, or I'd go sleep with another woman, or whatever it may be, and that's not going to solve anything, or I would go party, and I think a lot of men do that. Like, oh man, I'm out of this relationship. Maybe women do it as well. It turns into like a party, like you're celebrating, you're happy it's over, right? But, this is your time to focus on yourself and build a relationship with God, and when you learn to love and trust God, you will learn to love and trust yourself, because you're going to become whole. And then we attract what we are. Mm-hmm. So if I'm healed, then I'm going to attract another person that's healed. And then now we can heal the world together. Correct. But if I'm broken, I'm going to attract another broken person. And now we're going to break more people. So like the real solution is focus on your healing when you break up. When you break up, like try to heal in any way possible. Like we talked about counseling, all that, but really, strip the vices down, get rid of, that's like you were talking about what's going on today. Distractions is what's happening. That's what's pulling us all apart. And alcohol and drugs and weed and whatever. What is the other stuff? Not just weed. It's like the vapes. Oh, all that stuff is instant gratification, but that's not the true solution. And then you got these other things like we talk about alcohol, like spirits. They call it spirit. That's a false spirit. Mm-hmm. Like go work on your spirit. Like really naturally work on your spirit. Mm-hmm. Like, read, write, get your peace, seek peace. Like go seek peace when you're out of your relationship. Go seek peace. So you attract peace. Mm-hmm. You know, because that's the most important thing as a human being is we need to have our peace.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's why when you die, you get to rest in peace. If you have your peace here, you make everything right here, you know? So we should be, as men, like when you're a woman and you're out looking for, you know, I don't know, you shouldn't really be looking for a man, but like, what is he focused on? You know, like that's what you should ask yourself. Like, where's his heart at? Like, what is he, you know, what is his goal? Like is he, you know, you find out what he seeks, you find out who he is.
I think we all go through phases of what we think we need in our lives at certain points. And I think that when we let go of those expectations of what we need or what I need to look for right now, or this is what I should have in my life, or when we let go of that and we really focus on being our best selves, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
True.
That's when you really start aligning with the people that are meant to be in your life. That's when you really start attracting, like you said, you know, the people that you resonate with and that are going to help you grow together. So at the end of the day, I think that honestly, at the core, we have been conditioned. You're probably going to be mad at me for this.
Let's hear this. Let's hear it.
I think at the core, we have been conditioned to believe that marriage is our purpose in life. And I honestly don't know right now at this stage in my life if I believe that marriage is the purpose of life. I believe that knowing ourselves, knowing me, knowing who I really am and my purpose as an individual, why am I here? Like, why am I here is really the purpose of life. You know, what happens as I discover that? What happens as I continue to go down that path of honoring myself? I feel those are the things that are meant to happen, if that makes sense. So if marriage is meant to happen, then it's meant to happen.
Sure.
But my priority was me. My priority was getting to know myself, honoring myself, you know, really understanding why I'm here. So are you mad?
No. I'm not mad. And I agree with you. So I'm an obvious advocate for marriage. I don't think it's our purpose. I think if you get married, it should become your purpose, or you should make it your purpose at that point to have a long-lasting, healthy, successful marriage, right? Marriage should not be taken frivolously, where you're like, oh, we'll get married and then we'll get divorced 3 years later. That's ridiculous to me, and that happens way too often. So I don't think a person's purpose should be marriage, but I do think if you decide to do that, if you decide to go down the marriage route, that becomes your purpose. Or if you decide to have kids, those kids become your purpose. You know, F your happiness. Forget happiness. It's not about your personal happiness at that point. You got married. You had kids. Now it's all about that. Focus on that. Your own personal happiness, you gotta put that to the side, right? Your kids are now the number one priority. Your marriage is now your number one priority. Maintain that. Make sure that it works. It's fulfilling and that you do everything you can to make sure that you have a successful and happy marriage and life with your children. Otherwise, don't do it. No. Don't even enter that contract. So it's not your purpose, but if you decide to do that, then you got to make it your purpose.
And you know, this is a very interesting conversation for me right now, especially right now in the stage of life where I'm at. David knows my situation, but and I don't know how much I want to share. You know, just for the
we're all about sharing here.
Yeah,
you can share.
I mean, not
everything.
Just for out of respect for the other party in my relationship. But I've been married for 15 years and I'm currently separated from my husband. And my experience was one of, you know, when I married this man, I was completely 100% without a doubt in my mind in love and ready to go to war to whoever was against us and make this work no matter what. 100%. And you know, we had great you know, many years together, and eventually what transpired is that I lost myself. And I think I touched on that a little bit earlier, where for a long time I lost myself because I was so focused on him. I was so focused on I actually have a poem about it. I could read it, but then I don't know.
I was gonna say that I would love for you to share a
Please.
poem with us if you like,
Okay,
when you get a chance. Not
yeah.
now.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
We could make that happen.
Okay.
But for a long time I lost myself because I was so focused on like building this man, this god of a man that I saw in my mind, that I saw in him. And the problem was that I don't think he ever saw it. So here I was, just like so focused on him, and like he's an artist, he's a visual artist, and so focused on his art and making him just be this tremendous artist, and making sure that people recognized how amazing his art was, because that's what I saw. I saw this tremendous artist that needed to be seen by so many people.
Sure.
That I lost track of who I was. Paula was gone. Like, there was no rebel.
Oh boy.
There was no rebel. She was gone. And what transpired is that after years and years of that, I became resentful. I became very resentful because you weren't giving. There was no reciprocity. You weren't putting in as much as I was putting in. That 100% that I was given.
Into him, he wasn't putting it back into you.
He wasn't putting it back into me. I was just kind of, it almost felt like, okay, you're my wife. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. I'm not saying that's what he intended to do. I'm just saying that's what it felt like.
Was he being outside of that, was he a good husband?
He's a phenomenal man. He is an amazing man. He's kind. He's compassionate. He's loving. He's a good man. Like, for real. At the end of the day, regardless of what happens, we will always be friends because I care about him deeply. I admire him deeply. I want nothing but the best for him. I want growth and just beautiful things for him.
Sure.
Always. And that goes back to, like, well, just because a relationship ends doesn't mean that we have to hate each other.
Okay.
That's the last thing I want, is to ever hate him. So to bring it full circle, for me, my situation specifically was because I lost track of me, because I decided to put myself completely to the side, forget about who I was, forget about the things that mattered to me, and focus on something that, possibly didn't even matter to that person. So I was creating this whole, and I guess at the end of the day, it is my own fault per se, but I was creating this whole like ideal person that I didn't know if they wanted to be to begin with. So, and in the process, I lost myself. And I had kids, and I became busy, and
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Was he not honoring you in a similar way though? Did you not feel like he was uplifting you in the same way that you were uplifting him?
Honestly, no.
Okay,
And,
so that's...
we may we may differ in those in that interpretation. He may differ, but my view on it is no. And I think that basically it had a lot to do with the fact that it's funny because he neglected a lot of his traumas and mental health things that he never addressed, and his perception on what a relationship looked like, and his background growing up, and all of those things really do play such a big role in how we as adults act in relationships.
Sure.
And if you neglect that, at the end of the day, it will take a toll. It will take a toll. So I think that was a major aspect of it, and I didn't realize that until like that point that I mentioned earlier, when I like came to this awakening of myself and realizing where have I been for like 15 years, like
right.
And that resentment, that anger, it's tough. It's tough to get past that, So, and I can't say that I didn't try or I didn't want for it to work. I did at one point. We went to therapy, we went to counseling, and it just, I guess some things just get to a point where there's no turning back.
So you did the things. You tried
did.
all the things to make it work, and it didn't work out. I mean, that happens, you know?
Yeah.
And in my opinions, you know, they're not coming from a place of like, you know, I have all the answers. Because I too have a failed marriage. I'm divorced. Different circumstances, obviously, but you know, things happen. I'm talking from a place of like hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
What would I have done differently, and what are the things that I've learned, you know, from my past failed relationships? And one of those things is that, you know, you said, you know, you felt like you were losing yourself.
Yeah.
For me, I focused too much on myself in those relationships, and I didn't put myself aside enough. I should have not neglected myself, but I should have said, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about me.
So we're like total opposites of the spectrum here.
Yeah. Maybe we were both too on the extreme ends.
Yes.
You gave yourself up too much, and I was too self-centered.
Right.
In my relationships. And so I realized why my relationships failed for the most part. I mean, there are other reasons. There are 100 reasons, but one of the big reasons that I can take accountability for is the fact that I did not put myself aside enough to say, you know, it's not about me. I gotta care about other people, and there's someone else in this. You know what I'm saying? And like maybe I should put her first. You know, and so that's what I've learned from my past relationship. So it's funny to hear you say that, because we've got, you know, opposite perspectives.
Absolutely.
And I think we're both on the extreme of those opposite perspectives.
Right.
That's what it was. You
Definitely.
So for you would have been being more selfless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not being as selfish and introspective. I should have, like, you know, done more for the other person, or done more for the relationship as a whole, and not, you know, worried about myself so much. I was very self-centered when it came to my ex.
I wonder if that if that type of, like, you know, I feel like this is probably a common scenario with men and women, you know, like the men, and I don't want to make, you know, assumptions. I'm just saying it feels like it may be a common scenario where because by nature women are more just nurturing, just more open, and men are a little bit less. I mean, I can't say that's the situation with everybody, but I feel like, I wonder if that, you know, comes into play with, again, our roles that are expected as men and women. Like, do we as women tend to be more selfless in relationships because this is what we're conditioned to be? And do men on the other end tend to be more, quote unquote, selfish? I'm, you know, putting,
I don't know, man. I know some women that are very selfish.
I mean, yeah.
You know, so that's again, like, you know, it's kind of,
it's a tough one. Yeah,
that's
but I wonder if
that
does have an influence on it too. Like,
True.
So much of our psyche and so much of our conditioning plays such a big role in our relationship dynamics, you know, and I think that's why I think it's so important that we get to know ourselves first prior to stepping into marriage, prior to because once you're in it, like, you're in it. Like, I believe that the majority of people that go into marriage go into it for life. Like, nobody it goes into it with the intention of, all right, well, let's see if this works out for a month. If not, I'm out of here, you know? So I believe that most people go into marriage with the intention of it being a lifelong journey. But how many of us actually know ourselves well enough to, you know, work through all of the things that we've have to work through and then work through them together? I don't know that very many people have explored that.
We should be more patient, you know. We should be more patient before we jump into you know, these lifetime commitments.
Yeah.
You know, we should, and we really need to find out who we are.
Exactly.
So, like, it's like you're trying to find out who you are and work on somebody else at the same time. It's not going to work.
Absolutely.
Like, so it's like, I think that might be one of the original problems. Is like, you don't know who you are, they don't know who they are, and we're getting together, and like, we have no goal. We don't have any, like, what are we being intentional about?
Right. Right.
You know, like, where are we going?
Yeah.
Like, it's the blind leading the blind, right?
Exactly.
So, like, you need some guidance, you know.
I think too, from what I've seen in certain people that I've listened to, certain professionals, back in the day, the way that it was put to me. Back in the day, the more romantic part of relationships, i.e., physical sexuality, was more coveted back then, right? Like it just wasn't as opened and or when I say open, I what do I say? It's something you didn't just jump right into, which nowadays seems to be a little more of the thing, right? Like you have sex way sooner than a lot of people probably should. And the reason I bring that up, now I'm not no saint. That's a good sentence. I'm not a saint by any means. And have I had one night stands? Of course. Oh, heaven forbid. I'm sorry if that just dropped like 30,000 followers that you have. I'm so sorry.
I wish we had 30,000.
Probably gained.
We're
about
gonna get it.
30,000.
There we go.
I'm so sorry. But what I'm getting with that is the physical can hide so many flaws
Yes.
that okay, so if I'm just gonna use you, me and you, where we first meet, right? We start dating. If all of a sudden we jump into bed, you know, there may be things that I don't like about you or you may not like about me, but we jump into bed and we have good chemistry. So that puts a band-aid
Yep.
over things. Versus if me and you hang out,
Right.
we get to know each other. I really don't like
Patient.
this about you, or you really don't like that about me. We then can go our separate ways and be fine. But since the normalization of sex, I guess may be the best way to put it, or the more, I don't know how to put it, but just the fact that sex seems to be something that people get into a lot quicker nowadays, I think that's covering a lot of issues. Because you hear people talk about it all the time. This girl's crazy, but the sex is great.
All the time.
And it's like, well, dude,
All
if
the
she's-
time.
if she's crazy, then or the other, excuse me, the other thing, yeah, the crazy ones have the best sex.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm sorry if this is vulgar. I
Oh,
apologize.
not at all. We're adults.
I'm just trying to put it in through my words and my perspective. But yeah, I feel like people just jump to. That's another thing too. People are scared to be alone, so they'll get with someone. They may not necessarily like them. They jump to sex
Yeah.
because that is the thing that cures all, quote unquote, right? That physical thing. So they use that as a band-aid, and eventually things snowball, and then all of a sudden we're here where we're talking about you just can't look past it and you have to break up.
Yeah.
So I would say and this is counterintuitive to all young men. We all were there. We all were young men at one point. If you can stay off having that, like if a relationship is what you want, then try to hold off on the physical as much as you can until you know as much as you can, I guess, about that person. I mean, you're always constantly learning, but as a young man back in the day, trying to get your body count up, or
Body count, huh?
yeah, that's another vulgar term,
That's
but
a young man's term
that's
these
a-
days.
Yeah, it is.
That's-
Or no, an older term is another notch in the belt.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Another notch in the headboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And listen, it's not just men. There are plenty of women out there who have that same mentality. And
The Jezebel spirit.
at the end of the day, it's your life. Do what you want to do. But you're absolutely right. I feel like when you step into that physical realm, looking at it from an energy perspective, right?
Mhm.
I always look at things from an energy perspective. We each carry our own energy, okay? And when you step into that physical realm of having sex with someone, you're now exchanging energies.
Yes.
So you're now, that person's energy is now, for lack of a better word, in you. And so it becomes a part of you. And it's harder to walk away from
That.
someone,
Yes.
from that, once that's taken place, regardless of how bad the rest of it is, how crazy she is.
Mhm.
And now
At the end of the
that's
day.
your common ground.
Right.
Mhm.
So like that's another thing. Like, what is your connection? Like, and if you do this too early in the relationship, that's your common ground now.
Yeah.
You know, like you should, and that's why it's better to wait. But we hear that as children, but we don't listen. And I feel like that's how he looks at us. Like, I'm telling you everything you need to do, bro. It's all right here. It's in this Bible, but you don't want to be obedient. So now you got to learn the hard way.
Right.
And that we all have to learn. We're all very hard headed. We try to tell our children, man, you're so hard headed. You know, you don't listen to me, you know, but we're doing the same thing. He's giving us guidance, but we're like, oh, I'm gonna try my way. I'm gonna do it my way. You know, and where's it guiding us, you know? And that's why the society is so broken, man. And like, I really think that as men, you know, it's really up to us to get in our own word. I'm not saying you have to going to church is good. You need that fellowship and all that jazz, but you really should be reading that book and getting your own messages to guide your family, to guide yourself. And like I said, that book just teaches you how to love. And like, we don't really understand love. Like, we don't understand whole love. It teaches you how to value yourself.
Right.
It teaches you how to be patient, how to be selfless. You just said that was one of your problems. Like, well, if you were listening to what your father's saying, he's telling you to be selfless. He's telling you to be kind. He's telling you to be patient. You know, he's telling you to slow down, like move on my speed, man. You know, you going way too fast. We want to, like, we're just like children. We want everything when we want it.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as I want to do something, I want it all to happen right now. And he's like, yo, you ain't ready for all that. And then sometimes he's like, we do this with our kids. We're like, okay, go ahead. And then we watch them crash and burn.
Bump your head.
Yeah, sometimes we have to do that as parents.
To bump your head.
And that's what he's doing with us. He's looking down like, go ahead. All right, you wanted it. Go ahead and get it. I tried to tell you no. Go crash and burn.
Yeah, you have to. And that's what sucks, because I know there's been plenty of times where you couldn't tell me any different.
Same here.
Yeah.
Like, nope, it's nope. And then, you know, that prideful, the pride, the good old sin of pride there, and you're like, you're right, but I'm still not going to tell you you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
It's
go.
almost,
Exactly.
And it's almost sometimes like when someone tells you not to do something, you want to do it even more.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah,
So it's
rebellious
like,
side.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Maybe that's
when
just the
you-
rebel in me.
When you're young,
Yeah.
the rebel in you,
Oh,
I like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing with that was when someone told me no, well, like,
Why?
right, well, no,
Right,
yeah, it was like,
right.
well, just because you couldn't do it
Right.
doesn't mean that I can't make it
Right.
successful in doing that, right? So
Oh, yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
just
If it's
you.
wrong, it's wrong. You know, we should learn from others' mistakes.
We don't-
right?
We don't start to get that until we're older.
True.
You know,
100%.
like when I was in my 20s, nobody, you couldn't tell me I was doing anything wrong. When I moved to another country to eventually marry, you know, my ex-wife, like no one could tell me that I was doing the wrong thing.
Right.
I was following my heart. I thought, you know, this is what I felt like I needed to do. Looking back at it now that I'm 41 years old, it was the stupidest thing I ever did in my life. You know, I had a great experience. I met some wonderful people. My ex-wife is an amazing woman. But if I could do it all over again, would I do it again? Probably not.
Well, that's because you had the time, right? So when you're young, you don't have that concept of time in the aspect of it running out because you have your whole life ahead
Right.
of you.
And we talked about this in one of the episodes. Yeah, when you're young, like you don't realize time the way older people do.
Right.
You know?
Because now time is this, not an infinite thing, but now it's a finite. It's a countdown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what year that is, and it's happened to me, and I'm 37. It could have happened last year before, and maybe when I hit 37. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, now there is a countdown. As in when I was in my 20s, you know, you were looking forward to the older years, right?
Yeah.
But
Sure.
yeah, but no, at some point you start realizing, you start to have a different grasp, like you said, of time. And this may be a morbid or a cynical way of looking at it, but now it becomes a countdown.
Yep.
Whatever that countdown is, right? Whether it be death, or I have a countdown of I need to be X before I can retire.
Exactly. Yeah.
I need to hit a home run.
You know, I got to run up. Yeah, that dude. Yeah, my countdown for that is like I got like 3 weeks. Like I need to hit that thing quick. But yeah, you're totally right. And you know, I may look back, 10 years from this and realize, I don't know why I needed to run a 3.7, but I feel like I do.
3.7. It's getting lower.
Did it? I
But
think it is. Damn it.
But I just listened to all of you guys say the same thing, and I say the same thing as well. When I was younger, you couldn't tell me nothing.
Right.
Like you couldn't tell me, what to do. I don't want to hear that, right? So like, if we really want change, we have to guide. We don't mind being guided. We just don't want to be told what to do.
Right.
Right.
You know, so like, I mean, we all just said the same exact thing. And then you're asking like, how do we change what's happening with the divorce rate and all that jazz? It's through our children. We guide them correctly. That's how you change it. Like we're already, it's too late for us. Now, you know, it's never too late. I'm just saying, but like, you know, like like really the answer is in the children.
It is.
You know,
the
if
next
you really
generation is super important.
The next, it's our responsibility to look out for the generation below us.
Right.
Right.
It really is. It really is. And you know, if we don't do that, then we're gonna get the same recipe over and over again.
Right.
So I'll add to that, knowing what we know and knowing what people have told us, other generations, older people have told me this. Oh yeah, when I was young, you couldn't tell me this. We just said, when I was younger, you couldn't tell me this. Knowing that,
Right.
that it's human nature, it's gonna happen again.
Exactly.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means with your son, which you've probably done, with your son who's going to be in these ages of you can't tell me any different.
Yeah.
Knowing that, now that we can take a step back, and it's almost like cheating on a test, because we know what's going to happen.
Right. Right.
It happened prior to us. It happened with us. Your son is going to grow up. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
I'm grinding my teeth with you saying that right now. It's not going to happen. I'm going to grab him by the head, by the shoulders, by the neck and say, listen, kid, you're going to listen to me. This is not, my dad didn't do that for me. Okay.
But
my dad did not do that. He didn't grab me and say, listen, kid, you're going to listen to me. And this is what you need to hear. And this is what you need to do. Stop it right now.
Okay.
Nobody did that for me.
So maybe
I'm going to do that for my kid.
Perfect. So in your instance, hopefully that, you know, we don't know how that's going to work out. Hopefully it works out. But what we need to ask ourselves as the elder, oh my God, we are fucking freaking
Yeah, we're getting to the point. We're getting to the point of being elders.
We're elder millennials. But anyway,
I'm technically Gen X. You know, we're the coolest generation, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Self-proclaimed, by the way.
Yes, we are.
Jeez,
We are. We're pretty awesome. We straddle that line.
What about
of
pride?
playing video games and playing outside?
Now we're talking about ego again.
Yeah, what was that about the ego? But anyway, you Gen Xers, I mean, anyway. But as what I was getting to is, since we know this and getting older, how do we prepare for that? So if you see your son doing that, you know you have these certain things you want to instill in him, right? So, and then like what David said, you know that you can't tell the younger generation, look, this is what you need to do, because what does the generation do? The younger generation, when the older generation says, do this, well, just because you couldn't do it, or that's the way you know, I can make it work. Right? So we need to, as the older generation, figure out that you need to be there in a certain aspect. You need to tell them, sternly if need be, but then you need to also, you got to find that fine line of, you have to let them explore, let them bump their head, but maybe put your hand there so it's not as bad. I don't know what that is. I'm just using it as an analogy. Don't ask me to explain what that is in real life.
I think it's interesting what Chris said just a little bit ago, that he said that he didn't have someone to tell him, you know, don't do this or do this. My experience was actually the complete opposite.
Yeah, we're like opposites here.
There's a middle ground. You got to find that.
It's actually the complete opposite, and I was constantly told what to do, what not to do. I was held on a very, very tight.
Wow,
that's growing up in that Catholic family.
Yeah, Latin, Catholic. I mean,
wow, Latin and Catholic. That's a deadly combination.
Yes, for first generation here. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. So it's like, I feel like, how do you know what to do? Because at the end of the day, your experience led you here. My experience led me here. I feel like we're similar in experiences, different spectrums of it, but similar in experiences. So how do we know what to do. I mean, it's hard. To be a parent is hard. You just don't know, what's right, what's wrong. And then, I have 2 kids myself. I have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Okay.
And, at the end of the day, they are very aware kids, actually. They are far more mature than I was at their age. They're far more just aware in general, just like of themselves, of things around them. Like, honestly, if I had to be my parent, I'd have been scared too. But with them, I think they're great kids. Like, I trust them 100%. Like, I know that especially my 15-year-old, he's the one that goes out and does things. I trust that he's where he's at.
Yeah.
I don't have any doubt about that. Me at 15, not so much. So, but I feel like that had a lot to do with my upbringing, my constantly being like, I guess you could say, accused of doing things that I wasn't doing. Like, what are you doing wrong? Who are you? You're not doing this, or just this perception of like, I always had to defend myself because I was doing something wrong, even though I wasn't doing something wrong. For all intents and purposes, I was a good kid. I got good grades. I was in clubs. I was, vice president of the senior class, etc. Like, I was a great kid. But
Sure.
At the end of the day, I don't know where, having that tight grip and then not having any grip at all. Like, how do we know what's right if we all ended up here?
You're right. You're right. So the pitfalls. It's just you came to those pitfalls from a different angle, right? So
Right.
I didn't have any guidance, and it sounds like you had way too much guidance.
Right.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna call timeout.
What's up, buddy?
Bathroom break.
Oh,
Okay.
So she spoke her because this is a great dichotomy here.
yeah.
She had her side. After the break, you.
Your
All right.
side,
All right.
yes.
Yes.
All right, buddy.
You don't want to miss it, eh?
I don't want to miss.
No,
Got you,
I
I
don't
got
think
you.
You should miss it.
Dude, that was the tea. I saw you look at me. You're like, what's the tea for?
You got to just pee yourself, bro.
Yeah. Seriously.
We're already
You just gotta
connected,
go.
man.
Because we already had a break. That's when you were supposed to go pee.
Oh, all right, boss.
You screwed,
Boss man.
Yeah, you
Hold
screwed
on,
it up.
Let me punch the clock.
Seriously, you screwed it up. You gotta go pee then.
Mm.
All right, we're good.
That was selfish, John. That was selfish.
I'm recording this shit too, by the
I
way.
don't want to miss it. Yeah. He just said it. I don't want to miss it. What about everybody else?
Feel free to go to
I'm just messing with you, man.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.